Gentlemen, I have to start with all of you. On the front page of the People Daily here, beg your pardon, we have just come back here on the front page. There we go. And the story reads, this in relation to what we're going to be discussing. Mystery over 7,000 missing candidates. That's on the front page of the People Daily. You can take a look at that. Mystery over 7,000 missing candidates. The result says that 9,000 students registered for examinations and disappeared, only for 2,000 of them to turn up for tests after crackdown. So where are the rest? The big question, where are the rest? Mystery over 7,000 missing candidates. Okay, let me start with you. First of all, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of this headline?
Not much, because you remember the registration of candidates for exams takes place in Form 3.
Yes.
And many candidates develop fatigue and maybe may not report to do exams. Because of lack of enforcement, of who should be accounting for this. The persons who should be giving us this detail is maybe what are the quality assurance department doing with the schools to give us a feedback of what has taken place with the 7,000
yes.
who did not do the exams. And remember, the exams are nowadays done, the government has already given candidates free exams. They don't pay for exams. It is only registration. So anybody who feels that has been coming to school can just report and be registered for exams.
Yes.
Especially in a school. But now you cannot, as a school, compel them to come and do exams. So perhaps that could explain why 7,000 are missing. Yes.
All right. David?
I think that's a question that should have come out before even the exams were done. Because after the candidates have been registered, before they sit for exams, there is always a survey done to understand how many are sitting and how many are not sitting. So before the exams were done, that issue should have come up. And it should have been followed up, maybe through schools, to understand where these 7,000 that are missing. The government has all the machineries to do that. Through the principals, through the parents association, we are there. We should have done that before the exams. So now that it's coming out after the exams have been done, that question bounces back to NEC. NEC should explain why are these 7,000 missing students. Then NEC should explain,
yes.
not us explaining, because the parents give the children to the school. The Ministry of Education monitors, the TS has the teachers there, they report and give back the feedback of what's happening in schools, the government. So when the exams are done and 7,000 students are missing, and then now the question comes back in the media, as if they're asking parents to explain, then it becomes very difficult. So NEC should explain. They were registered. Where are they? What happened? Why not that
so what happens to the 7,000?
We want to know where they went. NEC should explain why they didn't do the exams, so that we understand now. Then we can now make a follow-up as parents from outside to know where are these 7,000. But first of all, NEC has to explain.
All right.
Yes.
So this must be a very big number. 7,000.
Yeah, it is, but I want us all first to get facts. This 7,000 is not KCSE. The 7,000 is KCPE.
Yes.
Those 9,000 that were mapped out by the ministry to have failed to turn up to sit for exams. So they've only been able to identify 2,000 who are available and ready to do exams, and they've been processed to proceed to Form 1, and they can do other evaluation tests later. Those who did not sit for exams in the KCSE are about 3,000. That's a significant number. And there are a lot of interacting factors here. It may point out to dropout. School dropout is a common phenomenon, and it's caused by many factors. The parents are here, why students drop out of school, even those who have registered, and they end up doing other things. When you try rounding them up, you cannot get them. In the North Rift, they will engage in cattle rustling. In some coastal regions, they will engage in child prostitution. It's real. In some sisal plantation, they engage in labor. In areas where they are border, they drop and engage in border. So dropout, school dropout is real, and attrition is real. It's a social challenge that calls for collective intervention. It's not the business of NEC. NEC does registration, administers exams. But school attendance is the responsibility of parents and communities and enforcement of the existing legislation. But listening to the data from the ministry is that there are a lot of interacting. The number may not be 7,000 as such. Some school would like to retain their independence as an examination center. So sometimes there are fake names, fake numbers in the registration. Others actually are real dropouts, and there are many interacting factors, and they've given us that huge figure. But one student is one too many.
Yes.
I think we should focus on those 2,000 who have turned up. What are we going to do with the 2,000? To ensure that they're admitted to the nearest schools where they are, and also diagnose the factors that cause the 2,000 students not to sit for exams and deal with those intervening factors. I think right now, when you're talking about 100% school attendance and 100% transition from primary to secondary and 100% transition from Form 4 to tertiary institutions, we should ensure that all students who are eligible to transit actually really transit, and we should be able to diagnose the factors. What is causing these students or pupils to abscond school? And that is a complex factor. You can't blame it on anybody. You may not fully blame it on parents. You may not blame it on school administration. But I think we need to map out and ensure that we enforce school attendance by any means.
All right.
So that all candidates, all students can actually attend schools. I think the biggest decision here, the biggest decision that has ever been, a bold one, was to allow the 2,000 who have turned up to proceed to Form 1 without necessarily sitting for a KCPE exam. It's a departure, because that is the principle of ensuring access.
Very good.
Then you can deal with other factors later. Because once there is evidence that there was significant attendance of classes up to the end of class 8, and that can be verified, then that student can be admitted. And this brings to the table the question of significance of some of these exams. Did we really need to have KCPE over the years as a tool of transiting to secondary school?
Let's answer that question. Let's answer that question.
There have been very many proponents that it was a barrier.
Very good.
It should have been removed.
Let's take a break.
Like the KEPSEA.
Let's take a break.
You can see the KEPSEA has been downplayed. It doesn't have to be used as a tool of transition.
You have your cup of coffee, Walimu. I need to have mine here.
You brought me to talk.
I'll say something.
You brought me to the studio.
Just 1 minute.
Can you take a break? Then we come back and I'll get back to you, kindly. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back. That was just our voice test and warming our voices. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. I also have my cup of coffee here, so I think we are good to go. Welcome to the program. I'm Victor Olo. So, David, you wanted to say something before you took a break. Please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted just to support what Mheshimiwa said, that the disappearance of the 7,000 children could be due to so many reasons, as he explained. And therefore, I would say that if KCP was to continue, we would want to have some kind of research done before and immediately after exams to understand whether all the children start for the exams or not, and what could be the reasons that are causing all this. And therefore, it's an experience that we need to learn from, that anything can happen, and we have to be ready for those eventualities. Thank you very much.
All right, very good.
But Victor,
yes,
I think we are not giving the comprehensive analysis of those who missed exams. At the registration of this cohort of students who finished Form 4, nearly 1.2 million were enrolled in Form 1. And only about 889 finished. We are not talking about the challenges that we have with high dropout in our schools, and nobody's giving us a proper accountability that what could have happened. Was there an epidemic in schools such that we missed to have about 180,000 not completing school? So we come now to narrow down ourselves to merely 7,000 who did not do exams, or 3,000. So in my view, I think there is need now to rethink and talk about education with a lot of clarity, that who takes responsibility in ensuring that we have got proper accountability of those who enroll in schools. And do they complete? And if they complete, where do they go? Like now when you are asking victims of those people who are just wondering where people went, I think somebody must have a clear record of what is taking place. The ministry must take responsibility to account for the children. The Ministry of Social Protection should also give account that this is how our society is, and this is where people disappear to. Yeah, so the small number is just a tip of an iceberg. That we have got a bigger challenge, that there's high school dropout and completion rates, despite the fact that the government made a bold step to have 100% transition at all stages. We still have that challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Sion, let me ask you this question. What is your general assessment of our education system up to this point, 2024?
Not just education system, but the Kenyan education system.
Yes.
But before that, you know, these dropout rates, we didn't talk about comparison of the numbers that did KCP and then in 2019 and those who did KCSE 2023. We talked of 100% transition of 1.2 million candidates in 2019. And then now we have a candidate of 840 something thousand sitting KCSE, a gap of 400,000. Then the question begs, did we really achieve 100% transition in totality in the first place in 2019? And if we did some transition of certain significant numbers, what is the cause of the dropout rate? I think after implementation of EFA goals and the SDG that is in force right now, which is retiring 2030, that ensures equitable quality education for all, of which Kenya is a signatory.
Yes.
And we've made a very good legislation that criminalizes exclusion of any child from school. Let us not discuss dropouts only during exams. It should be a continuous program that intergovernmental agencies must put in intervention measures to map out and check and bother about the location of every child. And that is why the Presidential Working Party has worked on a data system called KEMIS, Kenya Education Management Information System, that once a child is registered, you are able to track that child everywhere, and we should be able to account for every child. So if we strengthen our accounting system and the governance program, we'll be able to trace every child. It's only lazy operations that leads us to these kind of things. Now, you've asked about our Kenyan education system. You know, I raised a lot of reservations about the manner in which the so-called quote-unquote education reforms were being undertaken. That fell short of public participation. They were unconstitutional largely. But I think this has been remedied by the recommendation of Presidential Working Party. So our education system will largely rely on the implementation of this particular program to remedy many maladies that have been docked in the system. Number one, did we have to change the structure from 844? And what are the consequences of the change of this structure and indeed the implications? Now, the recommendation to have 3 levels, that is comprehensive school.
Yes.
That consolidates PP1 up to grade 9, closer to the households and domiciled in the current primary school,
Yes.
which will largely be day and should attract no fees at all, will ensure continuous access unhindered of education up to grade 9. And I think that is welcome news to parents, because one is the complete removal of barriers of cost and all the rest. This fantasization of boardings, this and that, that has that has brought the cost of education.
Yes.
Is uncalled for. And the president is very keen, and Kenya Kwanza government is very keen to ensure that the comprehensive model works. It's the best thing to do, so that we run an education system that is grade specific, age specific, and a curriculum that carries the content for that particular grade, so that then teacher deployment, deploy the qualified teachers to teach the curriculum at those particular levels within those setups.
Yes.
The senior secondary will remain exclusively for the pathways.
Yes.
And the pathways shall be well defined, and the senior secondary school shall have to be upgraded in terms of infrastructure, properly defined pathways, and deployment of adequate teachers, so that the senior secondary model purely and exclusively concentrate and focuses on preparation of learners for the pathways that they shall so
The question
choose.
is the government ready? Is the government ready for that?
Allow me, you've asked me a question. The government is ready.
But we
the
should
government
be
is
able
ready.
to interject.
The government
and
is
to
ready.
ask,
Akelo Missouri,
Susan,
shut up. Just allow me to finish.
Before you proceed,
You've not been allowed.
You should not mislead.
Victor.
You should not mislead the public
Victor.
by bringing in
Victor,
a policy.
Victor, I'm talking about a government policy that is in force and post-basic, and that has been made completely affordable through the funding model. It's two-pronged. One, TVET. A lot of investment in TVET and other mid-level colleges and the university level. So that then majority of the children through the stratified funding model system, particularly from poor households who have been conducting fundraisings, that will be a thing of the past. And you can see there is enhanced funding. Of course, with that structure, there is defined funding right across to ensure that parents don't actually absolutely pay.
Okay.
The arguments that Akelo's group have been having is to try and push grade 7, 8, and 9 to senior secondary for purposes of union domains.
Let us use the
But they have not
evidence on
told
this
us whether they are ready to find resources for parents to pay fees in grade 7, in grade 8, and in grade 9. That is not admissible.
That is the biggest question.
So
have you found resources?
So in short, Victor, the model that is in place that has been adopted and approved is government position.
Thank you.
It's not going to change.
Yes.
And we want to urge all Kenyans, let's support this model as is designed and make it work, because it is meant to ensure universal access.
I hear you.
And all what we need to work on now is quality variables so that we deliver quality.
Let's Molima Akelo go.
Victor, let us establish the rule of this game so that we don't have dominance over discussion over a very important matter. Education. Education is not something you can just have knee-jerk policy decisions because there's a presidential working party. In fact, the Presidential Working Party did not do good service to the already existing challenges which we had in education. And especially now, talking about comprehensive school. Comprehensive school, that you have comprehensive school from grade PP1 up to grade 9.
Yes.
It has not mapped out the correct facility infrastructure which can enable such kind of education to be undertaken. My brother is talking about the pathways which is designed for the senior school. And it is cheapening the discussion that anybody who is challenging the position taken by the current policy framework is looking for union membership. I think that is cheapening the debate about a critical issue, in education. For example, we want to lay a foundation
you don't
for
bring union domains.
You want to bring
and cheap arguments to disrupt the whole
protect the discussants. You cannot suggest that you have grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9 in our present situation when you are not discussing the resourcing of this institution, which require the cost.
Yes.
And you are saying you are saving the parents from the cost. Who is paying for the teachers who are not posted to these schools? Who is paying for the infrastructure to deliver the same curriculum, to deliver a foundation for the pathways in senior
In other words, you're saying the government is not ready.
So the government has messed up this process, and there is no kind word I can use. This process has been messed up, and it is because some people who have influenced the government think that anybody who is criticizing this model is against government position. That is cheapening the debate. I would want to ask my brother, the government promised that in 2023 they were going to build about 23,000 laboratories. Building 23,000 laboratories is a nightmare. And now we are in grade 8. The schools which are there, the CEO of the commission is saying we need 42,000 teachers. How can you use at transition casual laborers to effect a major government policy framework, and especially something education? So we must be very, very keen and not to cheapen this debate to membership of
What is the recommendation? What is the recommendation?
The recommendation
As
is
Coopet,
that the Teacher Service Commission had to be asked to rationalize staffing of teachers.
Yes.
So that, for example, creative arts, integrated science could be attended to. Not that you have got a school in a junior school which is part of the comprehensive school with 2 arts teachers. And they are currently there are 9 learning areas.
Okay.
That one is bringing us to messing an entire generation. We must stop this government from messing up education.
Okay. David.
Not just talking about union membership and union dues.
David, from the parents' chair.
Thank you.
That's what you are doing. That's what you are.
I have heard the two Eshimiwa speak.
Yes.
To me, I think your question was that what is the status of the education in the country? That was your question. I would say that to speak on this, we need to have some kind of research evidence that can be tabled. One thing is that I would say we're having issues in the education sector because of the policies that are in place. Are these policies that are in place being followed as they're supposed to be? These have been put in place by the government. For that, if you talk about 100% transition, when you're saying that we are 100% transition, there's a question of cost sharing as a policy from the government. Are the parents able to meet the costs of the education as per now, as we speak? For example, the government has given fee structures for the parents to go and share the cost. They pay part of the money. The same parents who are being told to pay the part of the money, they are hustlers at the moment. They have no money to pay the costs. And this is why you see some students are even disappearing from school because their parents cannot do what? Cannot afford because of that policy of cost sharing.
Yes.
We should be talking about having zero payment from parents in the education sector in Kenya as per now, because we have been told about free education all the years that the government, anyone who's coming to power as a president, speaks of offering free education all the way from ECD to university. But when we get to office, things change. So the policies. The other thing is this: how are they involving the stakeholders, like in CBC? Even up to now, we parents, we have never been involved in CBC. And if we are saying that tomorrow CBC will be succeeding, how will it succeed without the parents?
You have not been involved with the CBC?
We have not been involved.
Okay.
Parents, up to now, parents have not been involved. And this is why you see there's a problem. Parents need to have parental empowerment and engagement. Right now, Parents Association is anchored in the Education Act 2013. We are supposed to be funded by the government to do parental empowerment and engagement, which was a theme in the presidential task force that was on. But we don't get funding from the government, and we are a government office that caters for the parents. So there should be a clear way forward on this, that the parents should be involved. Come to schools. Parents still complain that they don't understand what CBC is. It's going on, but they understand.
Yes.
Nobody has done education for the parents to know what CBC is. The other issue is, how committed is the government? What is the role? Is the government doing proper monitoring evaluations and recommending as far as the education systems are going on right now, like one of the complaints that he's raising and what has been heard about. What's the government doing on those ones? Are they making any proper recommendations that can favor parents and their children? Economic crisis at the moment. The capitation that's being given to parents from the government, that capitation should be 3 times or 4 times. Mheshimiwa is here. I think you get this, Mheshimiwa, and go and advise them. So that parents can have ease minds and ease time to take their children to school. But when they are given 22,000, you are giving a single mother who lives in Kibera slums 22,000 as a government, and then you are asking the same parent in Kibera slums to pay 20,700. And this is a parent who cannot afford even a piece of bread, not even a packet of funga of 200 shillings. Where will this parent get that 20,700? We want the government to be very fully committed on providing free and fair education to the children. Teachers, look at the issue of teachers. We do not have enough teachers in schools right now. We are still having teachers employed on internship to cover that gap.
The government said that a couple of teachers have been employed. 52,000?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Let me explain.
Right.
We still have that. They've been employed. But are you not seeing that JS teachers already, where are they? They are saying that they are not reporting to work at the moment. And yet they have been employed. The question of teacher employment should be well addressed. And there is some misconception that's going on around. Let me be frank with this. People from the outside, there's an assumption that members of parliament have been given forms to go and employ teachers. And some teachers are feeling that those that are being employed right now on a permanent basis, that's being done because members of parliament are the ones who are influencing that. I want to make this clear that members of parliament are not the ones that are employing teachers, although that rumor is there outside.
Yeah.
So this is what we are saying, that the government should do some kind of monitoring and evaluating these issues on teacher employment. As I said about transition from ECD to primary and to secondary school, then to the university. Is there proper monitoring of this process by the government to know? At ECD, we had this number of children. To primary, this was a transition. What's the reason that there were 100 at ECD and there are 5 at secondary primary? Why do we have the county governments? ECD education, education has been devolved to the county governments. Is the government following now, the national government following the county governments to make, to assure parents that every primary school in this country has an ECD center that has teachers that are trained and qualified? Are they doing that? So when you talk about the state of the education in the country, everything is mixed up.
Chair, from your explanation, it seems that your house is leaking. You have got a myriad of problems.
Yes, there are problems that are not being addressed by the government. That's what I'm saying. Parents are there. I've given an example. ECD has been devolved to the county governments. The governors are not taking that responsibility seriously, as we are saying. Parents are crying. We are complaining that there are no ECD centers. There are no trained teachers in the ECD centers.
Have you sought audience with the Ministry of Education?
The Ministry of Education?
Yes.
When I'm here, I'm now seeking audience. This is the government.
No. Yes. Out of this place.
Yes.
Have you?
We have done that.
Okay.
Recently, we did a survey in Turkana for 3 months between August and December. We identified 4,000 ECD children who ought to be in school. We asked these children to be taken to school in January, this January, when the schools opened on 8th. These children are taken to schools, but there are no classrooms, there are no desks, there's nothing.
Okay, let's take a break.
Whose role is that?
So, Shion, most of this is fired on you.
Proper policies.
All right.
Lack of proper what? Policies and implementation of the same policies. The policies are there, but implementation is lacking. To be done in the proper way.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Which one? It's okay, let's proceed.
All right. Welcome back. Before we took a break, Mwalimu Sosion, when you heard what Mr. David said, he laid out a myriad of issues, and not most of them is lack of preparedness, inadequacy from the side of government. What would you respond from this one?
Yes, I've heard those lamentations, and I don't think we've come to the studio to lament. We've come to pragmatically discuss the future of education in Kenya. Particularly in the wake of release of exams. We have seen the exams and we've seen the performance. Of course, KCSE aside, that we were discussing, but responding to their views. Number one, there is a government now in place, Kenya Kwanza administration, that puts out its agenda to the people of Kenya and what to do within education. And Kenya Kwanza negotiated a charter with the stakeholders in education, led by the president and signed, and it's a very detailed document that is now under implementation, and that education shall be a public good that will invite public participation. It is, and the Presidential Working Party collected views all over the country, everywhere, from parents, that's a fact, because we wanted to ensure that whatever is being implemented meets the threshold of Article 10 of the Constitution. And there are a lot of drafts of recommendation and an implementation matrix. We've seen even with the KCSE, the change in grading system so that students are graded on the best subjects. And that gives students more freedom and more focus on the school careers. The rot that we have had in the education sector is so much that a lot is being done to undo, to rationalize and put education in a positive trajectory. So, Ombohadza, if you have any issue and any good view or data and paper that you'd want to submit to government, there is an office called Jogo, and you can walk in and submit. It's an open office, and so nobody has been closed out.
Mheshimiwa,
No.
Order, Mheshimiwa.
No.
Order, Mheshimiwa.
I'm responding.
Order,
I'm
Mheshimiwa.
responding.
Allow me to respond on this.
No.
Allow me. Why is it
Allow
refusing?
me to finish responding. I've only said, if you have any data, simply submit. It's an advisory. And any other Kenyan, if you have any useful information to submit to government, please do. Now, on the question of, the government is not building these in comprehensive schools, there are no laboratories, the quality in poor infrastructure and all that. The model of comprehensive school in the master plan, for those who have cared to read the presidential working report, the infrastructure of the comprehensive school model, that's why even the name primary has been dropped, secondary has been dropped, because there are a lot of dogmatic traditional thinking that is obstructing meaningful modern ways of running schools by those type of things. They've been now comprehensive school model in terms of infrastructure shall be of the highest standard. Why do you think we should have some schools with poor infrastructure, and then you want to transit children to areas where you think infrastructure is good? We must have upgrade quality infrastructure of our school system. And the president is very keen with that, and they started with members of parliament, that then the CDF funding, which is working, and we have seen the great work that is going on in Kiharu constituency in terms of upgrading quality of the comprehensive schools. We must upgrade our comprehensive school to the best standards in terms of infrastructure, so that then ECD learners can walk in, the current primary and the JS can walk in and study comfortably, because we cannot have schools with poor infrastructure, and we cannot stigmatize comprehensive schools to be condemned to entities of poor infrastructure. So infrastructure upgrading shall be real. There will be laboratories, that's a fact for sure. In the course of time, it is work in progress. There will even be ICT centers, because ICT is the real thing in the fourth industrial revolution and the future that we are headed to. There will be quality schools close to the households. And in fact, some of the comprehensive schools in the long run can even host senior secondary. So that then this business of high school fees and all that, you can only break barriers, of course, by bringing schools close to the households, at least for most of the basic level. And this is a revolutionary agenda, and it has been negotiated with the people of Kenya. And once we are through with negotiations and public consultation,
but the issue of infrastructure,
we cannot have other groups trying to tell us that, there was no consultation. And these consultations are continuous. And this will be implemented. So we cannot say, the comprehensive schools will lack A, B, C, D. All those infrastructure that we need shall be ingrained. And we are going to run an education system.
Why was the hurry? There ought to have been infrastructure before the transition.
Let me ask you, Victor. Since independence, we have been building schools. over the last 60 years, have we succeeded in building the best? Definitely not. And I think at this time, with this administration and with the CDF funding, we must purposely push for deliberate direction of resources to our school system.
Yes.
And that is what we are doing now. We cannot complain about the past. It was not done, but what are we doing now, going into the future? That is a model, that is a master plan. And that is why I've said
yes,
the investment in comprehensive school shall be real, and we'll have quality comprehensive schools in the long run. And teacher deployment, and we've talked about employment of teachers. If you look at the Education Charter of Kenya Kwanza, it identified the shortage as 116 in the country. And so far, 156,000 have been onboarded. Another further 54,000 will be onboarded in due course. And those who have been onboarded on internship shall be automatically converted to PNP without being subjected to interviews and any other thing, through gradual financial funding and direction of funds to TSC as the economy recovers.
Very good.
The president has stated it very clearly.
Okay.
And that's the roadmap. So let's not create confusion.
Okay.
Let us not be agents of confusion, of trying to disrupt the common order.
I don't know who are the agents of
education.
confusion.
Of
But
course,
then
like
the
what
issue-
Akelo is trying to advance. You know, Akelo does not understand this master plan. And I've asked him, angalia mimi nyuma ya tent, then I do some workshop for
Maybe.
you.
Let me respond
And
first.
you'll be able to
Let me respond first.
Maybe he will sort you out with
I
Mwakelo.
think
now,
let me
and then finally,
No.
Finally,
I'll come back to you. I'll come back kindly. Yes, Akelo. The issue of capitation as response to
education
that.
is a public good.
Exactly. But I want you to also respond to the issue of capitation.
Education is a public good.
Yes.
And the Presidential Working Party, which is being implemented through the back door, was not subjected to further public participation.
You mean?
It was not.
Okay.
Because it was
Did
an
you not
inquiry-
validate it at
it was,
the-
It was an inquiry.
no, you
Now,
validated the
to
report.
implement it.
No, don't cheat. Don't lie to
To
the
implement
public.
it was supposed to be
Don't lie to
subjected
the
to
public.
public participation.
Why
The
you not-
report,
why
the
you not
report
involved?
before it was handed to the president was validated by stakeholders at Semaster, and he was represented. So let us not cheat. I
Let
think
me
it has reached a
just
time we
it was
stop
not subjected
cheating
to
the
public
country.
participation.
Okay. What do you mean
Because
by public
when you
participation?
talk about validation, you validate what has been subjected to public participation. The inquiry was given to the stakeholders. And in fact, it was given to the press, not subjected to any form of feedback before the whole thing. So I don't want to go much into that because Sosion is using
you
it.
don't understand.
So Sosion is using it to intimidate
Nobody's being intimidated.
people who may think
Who is being
whom we
intimidated?
think are not part of the Kenya Kwanza government.
Yeah.
In his mind, he thinks that we are not part of government. A union in Kenya is part of the government of the day because it is being run by the statutes of the union, of the government. But having dissenting view on a matter important as education of this nature is not in any way eliciting some kind of social opposition.
Yes.
Are you seeing that thing? Secondly, education that we are running and at transition is being subjected to a unnecessary mix-up. Unnecessary mix-up. Why do I say unnecessary mix-up? We have accepted that the school is domiciled in the primary center. That one is granted. Nobody is now in doubt. We fought it, but we could not have our way.
You want
Why
the
were
one
you
is
fighting?
That is how.
Now, why were you fighting? Tell us.
That is how democratic processes operate. We have our standpoint, and in fact, the position still remains. The issue of laboratories for our schools, or workshops, or science kit, and so on, it is long overdue. I would want to ask anybody who has got evidence that there are science kits in any grade 7 school in Kenya to show me, because there would be samples in Kisumu, in Marakwet, in Homa Bay, and in Kwale of science kits in grade 7. there would also be...
But there is capitation being wired at 15,000 per child, isn't it? What is the purpose of capitation?
The element of this...
What is the purpose of capitation?
I would wish that a civilized discussion,
don't need to cheat
you give time to others also, not to interject and procedurally.
You are interjecting.
In the circumstance that we are talking about, laying a strong foundation for pathways, we must rethink our position in terms of the implementation and having the comprehensive school, as it were. It is not working well. We are now in second year of junior school. We are in the second year, and already some teachers are up in arms because they were also casuals. They were not given any assurance that they would be having an extension of their work. And in fact, we have talked to them. In fact, yes, the day before yesterday, they were in our offices. We are asking them to be strategic, to go back because the president has given his word that they will be employed at the end of the day. But one thing is, the Teacher Service Commission has not done a bold thing. We have got an adjacent school just across the fence of a junior school where there are teachers who have been posted. Nobody is coordinating that these people should be useful in the comprehensive school. That is what we should be discussing. That what happens that we have got Teacher Service Commission employing the same teachers but not asking teachers to go across the fence to teach the sciences, integrated science. How do you expect somebody who has Kiswahili and theory to teach integrated science, to teach mathematics, to teach creative arts? I think that kind of mess should be dealt with administratively. But now when my brother thinks that this is a political agenda that Akelo comes to do at KBC, it is cheapening the debate about education in Kenya. Cheapening the debate.
I'm calling you out because you are acting cheaply and you are arguing cheaply.
Let me make my brief comments on this.
Obuhasa.
To neutralize the two of them.
Right.
First of all, Honorable Zossion is cheapening this debate.
How?
Making it to be very cheap, as my brother Mr. Ori says.
How?
One, he is telling us here that primary school, the primary schools are grade 7 and grade 8 and grade 9 don't require laboratories. These children are doing science subjects.
Have I said
yes, has he not said?
Yes,
Sorry.
I said it.
Has he not said that?
No, stop putting words
Let me
come
to that. He is from his own research.
In my mouth.
Let me from
I'm
his
a
own
science
research.
teacher myself.
From his own research.
None of you is a science teacher.
Take this, my brother, here.
Words in my mouth.
You cannot build a house on a weak foundation that tomorrow it will be strong. That's where it's coming from.
Yes.
From his own research, Mr. Zossion said that CBC will not succeed in Kenya because of poor policies in place on CBC. His own research, I have it.
And
I can
I
read.
have not changed that position.
And he has not changed it. Right now he's telling us
that.
Are
supporting CBC.
Right now he's telling us, let me finish. Right now he's here talking to the public, telling them that the future will be honey and milk and bread. When the past has been destroyed, you can see right now the picture of 48,000 students getting E's in what? In KCSE. Already those lives are destroyed. Do you wait for tomorrow to get another better life? Why were they destroyed? The foundation was not well built. We are saying that proper involvement of all stakeholders in the matters of education in this country is a big role to be played. Parents must be on board. Teachers must be on board. Members of parliament must be on board.
No question about that.
Must be done. But
No
these
question about
guys
that.
are doing things behind the curtains. When he's telling us that during the President Working Party report validation, we were involved. Was I there? Did you see me there? I'm a major stakeholder in this country.
Were you
Was I
invited?
there?
Were you invited?
Was I invited? By who? Is there evidence? Ask the CS. Ask the PS. Was I invited?
Why was
invited
you not
this?
invited?
When you are saying it was at semester, this validation should have been done at KICC to allow all the public to witness, or KICD, where you do those things. Why semester? Because it was private and confidential to a few individuals for other people's interest. So we are saying that the report was not validated up to now. We want this report back on board. And that's why a number of stakeholders are in court. You know that the case in court about this report, they are going on. Mheshimiwa is here. We are talking about research. Where there's no proper research, then success cannot come. Whether you build on a foundation, what kind? From his research, he said that CBC cannot succeed. CBC has so many ups and downs. Cost sharing for the parents is too much. They can't afford.
Yes.
You saw the teachers asking for cook and what. They were being blamed. It was not their fault. The teachers must do practicals. Once again, he's refusing that they should not be done. The distance to schools, even the head of state himself said that let schools share what? Laboratories. They share. You find primary school children from Odaya Primary crossing to Nyeri High School, 20 kilometers away to go for a science practical. These are weak children, less than 13 years old. They are walking, it may probably in rain, going for practice to a school of 40 kilometers away. We need schools to be improved. He should be telling us that he's going to go to parliament and tell these guys that members of parliament, you've been given money. Go and build more schools.
Yes.
For the what? For
talk
the
about the capitation. The president said, I mean, I think a day or two ago, there was a report that 51 billion shillings, is it 21 or 31 billion shillings have been released for capitation?
Yes.
Can you confirm?
When the president says action is taken, and I believe that the money has been released because no parent, no principal has called my office that they have no capitation. No, I've not had that. So I can't say that it was not released.
Okay.
Yes, it must have been acted on.
Very good.
I confirm that one.
Okay. William Sosion,
Yes,
I want us to go to the issue of
think,
capitation. I want us to talk about the issue of capitation because now it's a big issue.
Yes, I'll talk about capitation.
Most parents are crying that the fee is too high. They're still spending on books. They're still spending on the necessities. What do you respond to this one?
Yeah, on capitation. And I've been on this space of campaign of government funding public education.
Very true.
For a long time.
Very true.
And there's a good reason for that. Kenya now is spending at least 6% of the GDP in education. Something that you can get in neighboring countries. Some countries are 2% or below. Kenya is devoting its own budget at 28%. And the president has stated very clearly, funds going to education in this financial year is 650 billion, the highest ever. That money is not meant for window dressing. And that is why we need now a very strong accountability system. And when the president said, for those who are corrupt, there are only three things and three options. When we are told that there are no science kits and 15,000 shillings has been released for every child, I think we must be getting a little bit mad or abnormal or something. What is the purpose of this money being wired to school? And it's basically for capitation. Capitation 100% is basically for tuition, and tuition 100%. So any child walking into the classroom cannot buy a textbook, an exercise book, and science kits. It is already factored and ring-fenced in the capitation money. So the question of learning resources for grade 8 is budgeted for. Grade 9, grade 7, grade 8, and even all the secondary schools, science equipment, it is ring-fenced within the tuition for every child in all categories of schools, whether national or day. And that is why we have abolished categorization of schools so that all schools are the same and they receive equal treatment. And this funding on capitation will ensure that quality learning resources are available to every learner. And that's a deliberate area of investment. Now we should be talking about what are the accountability structures, school by school, so that we ensure that these resources are put into good use. There's a big question. What is the money
My brother,
doing? And
my brother, let me tell you.
Number two,
let me interject this.
No, you don't interject.
No. Let me also interject you.
Just give him time.
No. He interjected Mr. Sorry. Mr. Sosion is cheating us. He's cheating us, please. Allow me to stop him from cheating the public.
You cannot stop me.
Allow
This
me to
show is
stop
not
him.
yours.
All right.
Allow me to do
Number
that.
two, on curriculum. Curriculum, that is being taught.
But now allow me to do
Curriculum,
that.
that is being taught.
I'll come
Yes.
I'll
On
come back to you.
curriculum,
I'll
you
come back
have
to you.
your right for rebuttal. On curriculum, that is being taught. And of course, the CBC that we raised, lots of issues. We took it back for public participation. And UNESCO recommendations allows for review. It was reviewed. And the learning areas have been scaled down. For example, secondary schools. The 14 areas where there are no teachers at all completely, because we never trained teachers for this curriculum. Then 14 areas that were too wide have been scaled down to 9.
Yes.
And then number two, KICD has worked in pitching down the curriculum because it was high-pitched. So that then when you talk of lack of teachers, there were already teachers in the payroll who were teaching Standard 7, Standard 8. They can as well teach this curriculum now that it is pitched down. That is going to solve the issue of teacher shortage going into the future, and that is a matter that even TSC should be able to review as we strengthen STEM education even at all levels and deploy competent teachers.
Yes.
We should be able to teach the same. So the curriculum has been pitched, has been remoderated through a review across all levels so that it can be effectively delivered. The cost burden and the materials that were being passed on to parents in the implementation of CBC has been weeded out. So a lot of good work has been done. Then lastly, what needs to be done, what we should be talking about, is having accountability structures in education. We need at the ministry to have a robust working quality assurance and standard department that is able to quality assure every learning institution, generate quality assurance standards reports, and then we have identified gaps of which school, of which sub-county, and of which region. That is what we need to do. We must run education within the framework of international best practices.
Thank you.
We cannot run it as if we are doing something in a marketplace.
Asante.
And that is why Kenya Kwanza administration is instituting order in the sector. And the results are being seen. Look even at the universities which were collapsing. They are now slowly coming back to life. And in 1 or 2 years, we shall see systems working.
Very good.
And that I can assure the parents of Kenya that all is well and all shall be well, and the government is in control to ensure that education leads to the correct trajectory, and Kenya should be able to deliver equitable quality education.
Do you take that assurance? Do you take that assurance? Do you take that assurance from
I'm not taking it, I'm opposing it because you don't do what he's talking about capitation, factoring of capitation.
Yes.
We are saying the government is trying what it can do as far as capitation is concerned. They are giving money. But are they giving this money at the right time? Do you wait schools to open for principals to complain that there's no money in schools, or you put money in the banks 3 months earlier before schools open? When the money goes to the bank like yesterday and schools have opened already, when the principals plan on how this money can be used? How sure are the parents that the money will be in the banks for capitation when the schools have opened? We are saying the government policies should be followed. If there's a policy on capitation, we want money in schools 3 months earlier. If the schools close in November, the government should put money the first week of December in banks for the principals to begin now planning how the schools will run on the opening day.
And that has been done.
We are saying now the review of the curriculum. Just look at this. This curriculum was reviewed probably during these holidays, December holidays. Parents had bought textbooks earlier for. The books were already done by KCD.
You're not supposed to buy books. Books have been supplied by government.
Yes, what we are saying.
You don't need
books were supplied, but supplementary books parents buy. There's a list of books we buy. I'm a parent, I buy books. Now, already the books that were done from his research, he's the one who did the research, saying that CBC will not succeed. And actually his research now is now proving him again. He's now trying to say that his research was wrong. He did that saying that CBC may not succeed.
I've not departed from my research findings.
Let him allow me to finish.
It is the research findings that are informing even these changes.
Yes, allow me. Your research findings were to inform these changes earlier. You cannot wait for tomorrow schools are opening and you come and change the curriculum at night and ask parents to be comfortable with that curriculum.
Yes.
Right now, the teachers who are in the schools, we say there are very few on JCC schools. Go to a school, you find one teacher teaching 12 subjects. A teacher who is supposed to be teaching chemistry and physics is also teaching CRA, is also teaching Islamic in the same school. This is a teacher who is not trained in those areas. So first of all, that is a raw deal for the parents as far as teachers are concerned. The curriculum changes. This is new curriculum. The students have been doing 12 subjects. Already they have been doing that now. They wake up in the morning now, they're told you're going to do how many? You're going to do 9. They have changed. Taxpayers' money, which has already been invested in books, that could have gone on building laboratories and other things already, that money has gone into a waste. Because the curriculum was just changed overnight. So we are saying that policies are in place. What is wrong with the implementation? Do we have the right people to implement these policies or not? So you should be telling us. The policies he's talking about being clearly implemented. And what's the reason? We are saying major stakeholders like the teacher unions and the parents associations are not involved in the implementation of the process of the education sector in this country. We are left out. And that's why there are problems right now.
I want to talk about the issue of capitation because that's now, it's back to school week this week. And most parents will tell you when they go to buy his textbooks and what have you, as you put it, Mr. Umhatsa, that they're still buying textbooks. I want you to chime in on that issue of capitation. What is your recommendation as KUPPET?
I think, well, let me just talk about first some of the issues which have been raised about capitation.
Yes.
Capitation model is one of the best that was thought of. It was a well thought of idea, but it has not been followed. Like, it has not been actually implemented correctly to enable institutions to run the way they are supposed to run. Many schools rely heavily on this capitation, and there is mutilation of the funds which are for capitation. I think you saw that one clip here that a student is held up in India because the edu affair, the money which was meant to be for capitation, for that matter, has been retained.
Yeah.
That is what has been retained by the ministry, or it has been removed from the capitation, which what is supposed to be what was budgeted for, the one for health. It has been removed. Another thing is that when you talk about even the element of activities fees, a lot of money has been retained at the headquarters. So you realize that certain activities which are supposed to be done at the school level is being conducted at the Jogo. So you find a student per student, they are supposed to be given, I don't know whether it was about 400, then 200 shillings is the one which is posted to schools as capitation. So the percentage which is supposed to reach schools does not reach schools at the end of every financial year. So that means that there is always the challenge of meeting the obligations of what the school desires to have in terms of capitation. So I think being a good idea, the administration part of it has failed the education system.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the problem. Yeah, it comes late, it is mutilated, and there is no clarity of the accountability of the capitated funds to schools.
I want to get your point, Molina.
At one particular point,
yes.
Remember last year, even the ministry did not know the amount they had disbursed to schools. They wrote about 3 circulars in 1 month to cover the amount which they had sent to schools. And they had asked even schools to account the money for money which they had not even received. And they were being asked to account for that money, asking every child to sign a form to be taken back to the ministry. So there is a lot of gray area in terms of this. But this is one of the best models which would guarantee the right and equity to education in Kenya.
Okay. 48,000 students scored an E. Does that really worry you in the last exam?
You know, in the way the public view exams, it is that everybody should get an A. There is the obsession that everybody should get an A. If they don't get an A, you should get a B+. And in every human society, sociologists say 5% are geniuses and 5% are also people who cannot. And this is the category we have in our education system. That you will have those who are performing highly according to the design of that curriculum and those who are not doing well. But there's also something which we must also underscore, that it is also a failure of the curriculum design. That how can somebody who has taken all the 4 years in undergoing instruction on the same thing just fail to get an average?
Yes.
After an evaluation? It means that one stop exam is not a clear justification for the performance of an individual. And we cannot say that the person who got an E cannot get anywhere. And that's why we are saying that in the continuum of getting grade A up to E, what the government has put in place currently is that you get a pathway of going to do what we call block release in terms of TVET. You can undergo a training at a basic certificate course, artisan course, and then you can also make a living.
Right.
Because there's no failure. The fact that you have gotten an E doesn't mean that you have failed. You have only underperformed in that exam.
Okay. Mr. Muhasa, there's a question here directly for you.
Yes.
Someone is asking that, do you have any reason why KBC exams haven't been released, and are parents worried about their children crossing to junior secondary school without results on this?
Thank you. Before I react on that one, I want to say something about the 48,000 students who have scored E's. One thing I want to say that these students were in schools in this country. The schools have boards of management, there's government capitation being given, there's parental support, and there was national examination that was done, a common exam for all of them. It's worrying that 48,000 students will still score an E, having been in a school all the way from ECD up to Form 4 level. We need a proper research done to understand why this happened. We as parents, we need to have that come out clearly in future to understand really what happened. Two, we need some assurance from the government on what will happen to these students. Not only that is called the E. You know, any student who scores a C playing downwards to E, the future is not granted by the government. We need some kind of a way forward on this one. The question of KBC examinations is very worrying. It's very worrying because if already the students are in classes now in grade 7, and yet the results have not been released, it's like taking students to Form 1 when KCSE has not been released. How does that happen? I think you're getting my question. It's like taking Form 1s to class without KCSE results being released. So parents of grade 6 were highly expecting to get the results of their children. And you know, sometimes in the past we have been demanding that when exams have been done in this country, the question papers must go back to the parents for them to assess. The teachers must assess again and see how are they marked. The KBC exams, we don't even know. Parents are asking, were the exams marked? Is there evidence? Now, the children in class, grade 7 already, they are learning. Where are the results? How do they qualify to go to grade 7? The government is here. Maybe you can speak on that.
Sosion, go ahead.
Yes, KBC exams, I think initially it was supposed to be a transitional exams from primary to secondary. In the previous confused and disorganized CBC model. But after the review of our education structure, and it was found wise to domicile grade 7, 8, and 9 in the current comprehensive school, which remains the same. KBC exams was downgraded to be a national evaluation exam. And the minister has made it very clear that these reports will be made individually to the school and to the students. So it's just a mere evaluation report. It is not a transitional exam. All the grade 6 learners proceed automatically to grade 7 in the respective schools. So I think parents should be very clear. KBC exams was not supposed to be used for transition. It's an evaluation exam.
My friend.
It is being processed by NEC and it shall be communicated.
Socioni, stop cheating the public. Stop cheating. This was a national examination conducted. Taxpayers' money was spent on this examination. Teachers were enrolled to go and vigilate and supervise the examination. How do you supervise an examination that results don't come out in public using taxpayers' money?
Okay, respond to that.
Victor,
go ahead.
I don't think we are engaging in a shouting match here. You asked me to explain. I've explained. The evaluation report will be communicated to the schools and the students. And
when?
Yeah, of course,
when?
The minister stated when? That's the work of NEC. They're finished with KCSE. That will be done. And the transition will go, that one, no doubt about it. So there will be results, and I don't think that's an item even worth discussing any further.
Okay.
Then on capitation, which Akele has talked about, the model is very clear: 50% term 1, 30% term 2, and 20% term 3. And we've seen the funds have been released to the tune of 31 billion shillings. And I should say, Kenya has done very well to put in funding to education from primary to secondary, and even funding at the universities. And then number 2, parents buying books no parent is supposed to buy books unless those who are in private schools and they so choose to be parents in private schools, and when they're instructed by the owners to buy, that is their own arrangement at that level. The books for learning in all public schools have been supplied by government and shall be supplied by government. That's what we have advocated for. And even the books, KICD has reviewed the curriculum, is reviewing books, is reviewing content, and a lot of work is in progress, as was raised by Kenyans. That is being addressed, and therefore even the learning resources are also being reviewed by KICD. I think we should be very happy that as a country, the Edufafia came to cover the students, other than the tuition. The Edufafia and the medical cover being covered by government has since been subsumed in the Primary Healthcare Facilities Act. And that does not mean it has been abolished. The UHC, which has got 3 components, will subsume the health coverage of all the learners in our schools. So even those who are in India will continue being covered. And there should be no worry about it.
Are you referring to this story, Mr. Sosion?
Yes.
Yeah, there's
if a child was shipped to India, yes.
It's on front page. It's actually on.
And I'm giving a very straight response.
On the Daily Nation.
I'm giving a straight response.
Yes.
These students who were evacuated.
It's on the Daily Nation here. 6 students stuck in India as Edufafia covered dries up.
The students who were evacuated to India will still be covered. Nothing has changed.
They have been there for 2 months.
The only thing, Edufafia has migrated and has been subsumed into the SHIF, the primary healthcare facilities, and so students will still be covered within the framework of universal health coverage. That one, there should be no worry about it, and then we should be happy. Students in Kenya are fully paid for in terms of exams by government, and that will continue to be done. What stakeholders should be asking is accountability structures on how this money is used. We must strengthen the school audit system so that all the funds that go into school are audited, and it gives value to the parents.
Yes.
And that is how to achieve true quality free education. We cannot deploy money to schools without checking how it is done. We must have strong audit structures in place. Back to the 48,000 students we have scored E.
Yes.
If we get back to statistics from 2015, for example, the number of students who had E's were about 10,000. But when these reforms were brought in carelessly in 2016, which have dogged the education sector for the last couple of years, the number of E's went up, the number of A's reduced, and even those qualifying to universities. Look at 2015. C+ and above were 265,000. 265,000. That was a significant number as per the candidature. 2016, because of the reforms, where those in charge of the ministry, I would say, committed genocide against students. Exams are not supposed to punish students. Exams are supposed to facilitate transition. And I think we have embedded a culture of condemning students using exams. That is wrong. So in 2016, cohort, 88,000 attained C+ and above.
Right.
2017, 70,000. It dropped to 70,000. While there were 140,000 vacancies at the university. 2018, 98,000. And then 120, 130. And then last year, through the reforms that have been undertaken by the ministry, the number rose to 173,000, which is 19%. This year, through the revised model, it has risen to 201,000, which is 22%. But I don't think that is a number we should be having. We should be able to surpass 265,000. Ombohat Sahia, the parent chair, so he says, knows too well that the vacancies in the universities are 301,000. So when you have 201,000 qualifying, we still have a gap of 100,000. The question begs, does it mean that all these 800,000 candidature cannot supply a further 100,000 to join the universities? Yes, our students are competent, and there's a lot that needs to be done within the exam. The reforms being undertaken by NEC must be supported so that we can give exams a human face. And that explains why the curve is what we call positively skewed. So fat at the left-hand side and so thin towards the end. It should be a normal curve. And that is why a lot needs to be done to look at the factors that are leading to the failures of the 48,000 on E. If you look at the numbers, it is not just 48,000 at E. There is 165,000 at D minus, 150,000 at D, and if you total all that, that is 400,000. It is half the candidature.
All right.
It is a cause for worry, and that is why the Ministry of Education, two things should do. Strengthen the quality assurance and standard department. That is going to look into the quality and delivery at the school level. And then number two, strengthen the school audit unit. If that is done, and open general public conversation. And I would like to say Kenya Kwanza administration is open to conversation within the education sector. We shall run a democratic and open education system that allows everybody to participate regardless of beliefs, regardless of political shades. We are not running politics at the moment. Education is a public good, and everyone
let's cross over to
shall
Kisumu.
be allowed to participate.
Let's head over to Kisumu. Wycliffe Okech is on standby. Following this discussion, it's back to school week, this particular week, and then I have got brilliant minds here behind the education system in Kisumu. Perhaps we just cross over to Kisumu. Wycliffe Okech, Director. All right, very good. All right, thank you, Wycliffe Okech, coming all the way from Kisumu. That is Nyamasaria Comprehensive School, and the teacher said that learning is back to its full cycle. So, Walimu Sosyon, you must be happy.
Yeah, of course. What has been planned by government is being executed very well. The comprehensive school model must take shape. The resources must give value to every learner and to every household, and that is exactly what is being implemented. And so we should not cause divisions and confusion. Let us all support comprehensive school model to work. Let us support the senior secondary school model. In fact, with this reform, the biggest challenge is not even at the comprehensive level. The biggest challenge will be at the senior secondary level. That we must prepare the number of teachers that will be required, the amount of infrastructure, because then those who will even choose the pathway of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Very quickly, there's a question here for you.
They must be properly facilitated.
There's a question here for you.
So I think we should prepare in advance now for SSS.
All right, we're running out of time. There's a question here for you that if CAPSEA results have not been released, we have got 48,000 who scored an E. How are we able to tell that the students did fail or did not pass?
The exams was not meant to fail. It's an evaluation. So it is not meant to generate failures. That is the kasumba that Kenyans have, that we give exams so that we generate failures out of our children. And I don't think even this CAPSEA should even be made public whatsoever. It has reached a time that we must tone down the exaggerated drama and bravado around the exams. It's a normal evaluation. It's an integral part of teaching and learning. We should even remove the police from guarding and supervising these exams. We should make examinations normal and evaluation normal, so that we avoid this exaggerated too much. Now somebody is saying, oh, how do we know whether students have failed or passed? The exams are not there.
I'll treat that as your closing remarks. Mr. Mohatsa, at the end of the day, where do you see the education system moving forward?
First, I want to say that I want to thank the Kenya Kwanza government as far as the education is concerned in the country right now. I don't think if there's any government that has ever been committed to supporting education as the Kenya Kwanza government is doing right now. Because the president himself has been on the front line saying all children must be in school. He's looking for 100% transition in the first place. He's supporting and even saying that he is pleading where we don't have many things like laboratories and other infrastructure in place. He is even going ahead requesting the private school owners and other well-wishers to support the schools where children don't have those facilities. And it has worked. We have seen children cross to schools and they share facilities as far as learning is concerned. Finally, the issue of capitation, the government is very committed that the money should be in school and the students should be in school. And even you saw the other day, the president was talking about a CDF money. He is making sure that the members of parliament have been given CDF money to make sure that the poor parents can access funding for their children. And therefore I say this.
Yeah.
Rome was not built in one day. There is much going on as far as education in this country is concerned. We must be there to support what the government is doing. We must sit and go ahead with the government.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
can't always complain. Thank you. Parents
Now,
support the
Chairman,
government.
you're speaking.
So
Chairman,
parents
now you're talking.
should support the government because parents own
Chairman,
schools.
you're talking.
Parents believe that the government owns schools. It's not the parents. The schools are found in communities where parents are. Every community should make sure that the parents around their schools support their what? Their school systems by being fully involved. Because that's who owns schools. So I ask parents to rally behind me. We support the government. On this system.
I need to ask you this question, but probably maybe privy to what government
Yes.
says. Before I come to Mwalimu to wind up for us, any hope for future education system?
If you look at what we are doing,
Any secret somewhere behind the scenes? Huko nyuma?
if you look at the agenda of Kenya Kwanza,
Yes.
bottom-up economic transformation towards industrialization of manufacturing, value addition and industrializing the country and moving to the fourth industrial revolution of driving everything with ICT
Yes.
and the 5 pillars of Kenya Kwanza. One of them is ICT superhighway. All this cannot be achieved without revolutionizing education. I want to say what is going on in Kenya and within the ecosystem of Kenya Kwanza administration led by President Ruto is revolution in education.
Yes.
It's all revolution. We are not going to do things the same way. And not just revolution, it's a very empirical revolution that is going to lip. Very empirical.
What can you tell
that is going to lip.
Akelo Misori to make him happy as
I'll
you
tell
wind
Akelo
up.
Misori, who is my friend and who was my classmate, you know, understanding things and engaging in structured conversation will make us speak in a better language and do things in a more unified way. The way the chairman has seen light. So my brother here, whom I converse a lot in private and in public, and can you see me nyuma ya 10? And then can you have a unified way?
I'd love to be part of that discussion.
But then you don't vacate your position of criticizing the government honestly in a structured way. But things that are right, support. Things that are not right, you must always stand and say no.
On Edu Afya for the parents.
Tulitoka huko.
On Edu Afya, no. I didn't answer that myself. It was to Honorable himself. May I just say shortly that actually if there are changes on Edu Afya scheme, we would want the government to come out clear quickly and advise parents if there's any alternative for them to be rest assured. Because they're worried on that.
And that communication has come out. They are covered.
Thank you.
Our coffee is getting cold. All right. Mwalimu Akelo, final word.
Now let us make education issues very, very important. Education is not cheap, and what is early education is funding. It is funding. And from our point, we are saying we are going public, fund public education. Education is a public good, and we cannot use inequality to make it more private, like it obtains today. That currently, because of poor facilities in many schools, you realize that there is always the tendency that people must go to very big schools where they know very well there is proper staffing, the resources are there. So we are already overburdening those schools. And as my brother has already indicated, the major challenge ahead is senior school, where we are going to choose pathways.
Yes.
On a very weak foundation as it is currently, on a very weak foundation as it is currently, we are likely to have real challenges in selecting people to join the senior school where pathways are supposed to be there. Everything must be done in advance, and those teachers must be prepared in advance to receive the learners from junior school. It is going to be very bad if we destroy a generation simply because we lacked planning sessions. So this is very, very critical.
Thank you. All right. Asante sana. Today it will be core class 101. We've talked about matters education, of course with brilliant minds, all with education background, and that is how we were to get it. I thank you, Akelo Misori, who is the Secretary General of KUPPET, David Omuhatsa, who is the Chair, National Parents Association, as well as Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, CAS. If I don't say that, I know I will not get out of this studio. Former NAT Secretary General. Asante sana. Gentlemen, thank you so much for watching part of the show. I'm Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Let's go and build Kenya. Thank you.